that part of the warfare, and these are the tactics that have been used against us, that we don't seem to comprehend, that there's been a systematic attack on our history, on our heritage, and on our culture. So it has made those, especially those of us who've been through the Western indoctrination systems, not education. You know, we've come out seeing things their way, forgetting that once your history is colonized, once your heritage is colonized, once your culture is colonized, you are finished. So we even have to break out of that. And as soon as we break out of that, perhaps using the Ekow philosophy, one day, when we get ahead of state, he will come and also say, Nsuno, Ebiemo, Waframa, Maba.
Viva Africa, Viva Ghana, Viva the continent. It means long live Africa. Thank you very much for checking me out. My name is Ekow Simpson, you already know. Today being 25th of May, we are celebrating AU, African Union. And I came here to Mabel's table where we had an event. So I have here with me my father, my uncle, Kwame Nitoto, who is going to give us a brief info on whatever happened here today.
Thanks you, Ekow. Today, in recognition of African Union Day, also known in the United States as African Liberation Day, we had a panel of 4 distinguished speakers. Rabbi Cohen, of course, speaking about the history of the African Union Day and how it evolved. Then we had a Dr. Jai, who's a professor at the University in New York, who broke down the history of the word amen.
We see the amen in the New Testament also. And we say that all of the oldest New Testament texts were written on papyrus discovered in Kemet. Every last one of the New Testament texts, Mark, Matthew, the Synoptic Gospels, all of them were written on papyrus found in Africa. Every last, not in Israel, and right in Africa. Africa proper, as I mean. Right? And so we talk about the Amen in John, and this is all in the book, in Revelations 1:11, Revelations 3:11, as the Amen as a proper noun.
And discussed the origin of the word and how it is an African cultural word, not really a biblical scripture or religious word, but something that is indigenous to African culture. And then we had a brother, Elder Leo Blade, that spoke about the history of Pan-Africanism and Dr. Kwame Nkrumah and his influence and some of the books he wrote and some of the things he wrote and some of the principles that he stood for. And we followed that up with Nana Nketiah, who talked about liberation and the importance of freeing the African mind. The discussions, all 4 speakers were very profound, very dynamic, brought forth a lot of incredible information, and it was streamed live across the world. And so we had a great celebration here today to commemorate African Liberation Day, African Union, and the purpose is to help us move forward in the unity of all African people. We understand that we are being assaulted, and we need to stand together, all of us throughout the world, from all over the diaspora and here in the motherland. And so today I thought was a really great day. Ekow, appreciate you being here and lend your support, because it's very important for us to have media here. And so when you guys show up, it's always a good thing. So basically that's what happened today.
All right. Thank you very much.
Thank you, sir.
But he says we must unite in order to achieve the full liberation of our continent. What does that mean? Because if you don't unite, we all know the strength of unity. But there is aimless unity. Unity must have a purpose. You just don't unite. Right now it seems as if the AU, for example, is in a meaningless African Union. So some of us say, oh, today is African Liberation Day, much more than we say African Unity Day. Unless that unity implies liberation, and that liberation also implies unity, vice versa or both.
What did Lumumba say? I think I wrote something, my favorite Lumumba. These divisions, which the colonial powers have exploited, the better to dominate us, have played an important role and are still playing an important role in the suicide of Africa. Of course. Hey, that is then, 1959. Today we can add the Chinese to it. They're also coming in. And we see them coming in. And yet we seem tied up. We seem tied up. So the whole idea is the word liberation. To be liberated, to know that you have to be liberated, then you should know who is oppressing you and what is oppressing you and how you are being oppressed. The who, the what, and the how. If you don't identify those three, you just exist. What affects you? How does the term affect you? What is the brain behind you? Sometime this morning, when I woke up, I was reading Pope Urban's exhortation at Claremont when he was asking for the Crusades. And in his exhortation, he says, "You are the chosen of God. Nothing should stand." Why superiority was being manifested at the time? Your ancestors are this, they were military, you have to fight. Nothing should stop you. That's not just history. We talk about mental colonization. All of us. What do we do about it? Every university in Africa must be a university of liberation. Is it? Are they?
No.
Are they? Every science you read, go to the political science department. What are they doing? What books are they using? Are they books of liberation? Books of the study of the science of oppression and the science of liberation? I think it was the Samuel Marshall who said that the day you find the white man, of course he knew what he was fighting against. You find the white man praising me, never believe in what I say again. And I say the oppressor and the oppressed cannot share the same heroes.
Right.
If the hero of the oppressed is being praised by the oppressor, then that hero is actually working for the oppressor. But these must be studied. And nothing can change the fact that the one who is down-pressed, to use Peter Tosh, the person who is down-pressed has the moral right to fight for his liberation. Nobody, it's a moral right. And then you move into another stage. Once you know what your personality is, as they said in America some time ago, to be African or not to be. There's no halfway. There is no halfway. You are either African or you are not. When my elder Leo was talking, he says what? The African personality. It's a phrase which used to rage in Ghana when we were young, and we don't even hear of it again. Because we've gone over time where it is becoming entirely difficult to even find out who manifests the African personality. What is this about? Mwalimu Nyerere said some time ago, we spoke and acted as if the opportunity for self-government, if given the opportunity for self-government, would quickly create utopias. Instead, injustice, even tyranny is rampant. And he said this as far back as 1985. And when he said back sometime, these are the things you see. And what for? Who ends? Who loses and who benefits from Africans doing certain things to themselves? Who benefits? Whose ideas do they use to do these things? And sometimes you sit back and you ask yourself, where are we? The whole idea of liberation in itself shows that we are at war. To talk about liberation is talk about war. We are at war. And in war, to be able to win, we need a strategy. To even identify and know that we are at war puts you in a place, then you know that you are in a struggle. Any African who is not conscious of the struggle is not worthy of being referred to as, he's asleep. That's a dead African. They think that drinking champagne, coming and doing all kinds of things is what makes, no. Isn't that riding fat cars is what makes them, no. Vietnam went to war and built its own cars. That's one of the best cars in the on the continent.
Yes.
As a continent in the world, the VIN. They grow their rice and export it to us. We are at war. Therefore, what is the strategy? If unity is one of the strategies to achieve our ends, then how do we achieve that unity? What strategies do we use? Sometimes it's good to read some of these. You've all heard of Sun Tzu, you know, the thing he writes about where he says, if you know the enemy and you know yourself, you don't fear the result of 100 battles. You should know your enemy. So you're at war with whom? And you know yourself. When Brother Leo was talking, one of the thoughts that struck me is that the African seems to be afraid of freedom. The fear is to be free. He's so bound up, tied up, to use my president's words. We've been aided so much that we are scared of getting rid of aid. You have Africans talking, and we want to donor support. Even the usage of the phrase donor support means that you are sick, a sick organism. And our donors, how dare you call yourself independent if you are sitting down and you need blood transfusion every time? Something wrong with your head. The African personality knows the end of his life, where he's going to. I know where I'm going to. I'm going to my ancestors. Are you going to yours, or you're going to the white man's heaven? If Africa is like hell, who created this hell? These are things that should challenge our thinking systems. We have economic. I keep on saying, nobody is going to sit in the IMF, nobody is going to stay in America, nobody is going to stay in China and create economic theories to help you, the African. He benefits from your weakness. Create your own economic theories. Create your own economic philosophies. You are at war. You don't go and borrow your friends, your enemies. They are not friends. They know that they are not your friends. Only we are fools to accept the snakes in our lives as our friends and lie with them.
Come on, Nana.
The strategy, the strategy. Acceptance of war. They call here, what are they doing? Multi-party politics. So you have two parties at war with each. No. That is not the struggle. That doesn't even come into the struggle. The same thing in Nigeria. You have Ruto down in Kenya together with the other one, Kenyatta's son. So that's not the war.
Uhuru.
The real struggle is for them to unite in liberating the country. That is the challenge we all have. You know, in fact, Simpson goes on and says, if you know yourself but not the enemy, for every victory gained, you will suffer defeat. If you know neither the enemy nor yourself, you will succumb in every battle. Where are we? Where have we reached? We need to look at the war we have to fight. We need to own our own God, not the God created for us by those who came to exploit us. We need to have our own saints. And the saints can only be your ancestors who were good, who lived a saintly life. Their character was beyond reproach. We need to have names that when we call, there's some kind of vibration in our souls, lifting us up. When Malcolm's Day was celebrated a few days ago, you felt lifted up. Malcolm lifted us up. The mention of his name. In the 30s, for example, on the west coast of Africa, the British made sure that, and you all know this, no Gavi book or literature was brought into the Gold Coast. The question is why? Therefore, how can you call yourself liberated and you eventually are not studying Gavi? It's a required test. We only hear of Gavi when Burning Spear comes in. Do you remember, oh Marcus Garvey? Do you remember, oh Marcus Garvey? Then we sing and we dance. But what were his philosophy and his opinions? And how can we apply them to today? Why was Garvey seen as so dangerous that even his writing would not be imported into the colonies?